I want to welcome you to this second of the Sacred Journey videos. This video is an invitation to explore what it means to go into the body. As we talk about living the sacred life, what has become so clear on so many different levels and in so many different disciplines is how crucial the body has been. And I think many of our struggles as a human race at this time in our human evolution, in part are because we have gotten so separated from our bodies. So let's take a journey into the body and explore how it may be really the essential vessel for this sacred journey that we are undertaking. Move my little head around here. So I love this quotation, this little verse from the great Sufi poet Rumi. He says, "Your heart is an ocean, your body is a beach. If you want to go to the ocean, you go to the beach." This is a beautiful, simple way of capturing how we really can't get to the more expansive sacred self if we ignore the body. And this current journey that we're on, this, what I'm often framing as the emerging spiritual journey, is seeing so many of the old forms die. And there's an emerging planetary awareness, consciousness, that we are really coming into a new relationship with so many aspects of the world around us as old forms are dying and new forms are coming into place. But we're also coming into a new relationship with the very temple of our being, which is our body. And so embodiment really is foundational for this journey that we are undertaking. Now, that's so important because we have gotten so disconnected from our bodies. And interestingly, a lot of Western religion has denounced the body and seen it as a problem, if not, in fact, evil. And so it's certainly understandable that we have gotten disconnected from the body in terms of our sort of traditional spiritual, what we've inherited from our spiritualities and our religions. But beyond that, we also have this challenge of an emotional center and a heart center that can very quickly and easily override the body. And so we're going to be exploring just briefly why that may be. But in general, we're going to start by looking at the body as a spiritual channel. That once we can get all of the sort of distortions clarified, this journey into the body becomes a journey into a sacred temple where our connection with the divine really lives and activates. Now, to put all of this in the perspective that I shared last time, you can see that what we're really working with here is awareness. And so much of our human experience lives below the line of awareness, as we talked about in the first video on the trance. The entranced self has very little awareness, and coming into awareness always involves, to some degree, coming into this amazing thing called the body. And without the body, we really stall the whole spiritual journey. And so we need to get back to the body and understand some of the ways that it is so central for us to continue on this journey of spirit. Now, it's difficult to get into the body for reasons that I've mentioned, having to do with our religions, our wider culture, and all of that. And of course, it has to do with what we talked about in the first video, this trance, and how easy it is for us as humans to get entranced, just by our own internal dynamics, not to mention the cultural ones. All of these perspectives here make it very difficult for us to even connect into our body, and they often lead us to actually abuse our bodies. And we all know what that's about. And so this journey into the body really becomes a very crucial hinge point into the sacred life that we are seeking. And as we'll see, the capacity to be in a quiet space with our own body really is the essential journey that we're going to be undertaking as human spiritual beings. So, just to step back and look at the body in its wider context, the body is an energy center. And along with all of our earth and universe, it also is evolving. Our body has evolved over millions of years, and we are actually in a time where our body is in its own sort of evolutionary hyperspeed. And in part, this is due to the discovery of a lot of different scientific awarenesses, but there's also a sense that our brains are changing. And it really is arrogant for us to think that while, there were the Cro-Magnons many years ago, that we have suddenly stopped and we have peaked at our current human state as Homo sapiens. We are certainly continuing to evolve as a human species. And so a part of this evolution is just understanding that we are made up of particles, neuron cells, hormones, but we're also made up of waves, various energies and frequencies. And no scientist will dispute this. We are particles and waves, as is all matter. And so, of course, we are evolving as the world and consciousness around us evolves. And this just reflects here some of the various ways that our human perspectives have understood our body and our humanness as energy systems. So we have sort of the scientific perspective on the body. We are neurons. We have a nervous system. We have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. There's a lot of research around that right now, and how our nervous system relates to healing, trauma, and all kinds of growth and development. We have, from more of the Eastern tradition, the notion of meridians and chakras. These are ways of understanding the human energy system that are all about sort of the various ways that the body communicates with each other. And then we have electromagnetic fields, or we talk about auras, about how the body itself sends out an energy and it has a field around it. We're not going to get into specifics of any of these, but I just bring these forward to reflect how our body is most certainly an energy center. And so as we think about our own journey into the body, it really starts with breath awareness. And so any sort of meditative tradition right now that we're doing almost inevitably starts with take a few deep breaths. And we know that the relaxed nervous system really is the evolutionary driver of so much of our awareness and of our journeys into this sacredness that we're seeking. So the ability to calm the body is really front and center of our task as humans these days. And when we're able to do that, when we're able to calm the body, we really are able to access healing, inner awareness, and presence in a way that we just can't when we are in an anxious body. So this body is really the gateway to all of the sacred journeys. Our capacity to come into a calm and resonant body is really not optional if we're to navigate this significantly challenging world. And along with that, I like to say there's really no alternative to becoming contemplatives, to becoming embodied creatures, if we want to live with some peace, power, and purpose in our world. So finding a home in the body is really so central as we undertake the challenging and beautiful sacred journeys. Now, as we explore the body, we really have to look at it through 3 different dimensions. Each of these centers, our head, our heart, our body, are considered a center of intelligence, and the Enneagram does a beautiful job of working with each of these centers of intelligence. And just beyond intelligence, each of them is really a sacred center of intelligence. Sacredness, divine understanding and guidance comes through each of these centers a little bit differently. So we're going to look at each of them in turn here as we explore the journey of coming into the body. We start with the head center, and we start there because in our evolutionary pattern as humans, the mind has really triumphed, and for important reasons. The mind has enabled us to evolve. It's what has become attuned to threat. And so in the early journey of the humans, it is the mind that was able to tune into threats that might get in the way of its survival. And so that's a highly developed capacity in us. And so we are prone to see what could go wrong. We're prone to errors. We're prone to threat and danger. But of course, that leads to a significant challenge for us, which is anxiety and fear. So each of these 3 centers of head, heart, body have a lower kind of functioning and a higher kind of functioning. And for the head center, anxiety and fear really becomes its kind of default when it's struggling, when it's feeling threatened, when it's feeling at stake. And so anxiety and fear really is the dominant consciousness right now on our planet. And that's part of why we're dealing with so much difficulty right now. And so when we're in this anxious mind, our preoccupations of our ego self, our security, figuring things out, and just staying in survival. If we can come into a calm body, we can activate a higher mind. And that higher mind has access to a whole nother range of functioning. It has access to mindfulness, to courage. It has clarity. So it gains access to a kind of wisdom when it's able to be in its quieter form. So insight and intuitive knowing activate when the mind is able to slow down. And there's a very interesting connection between meditation and this higher functioning of the mind. And I love to bring out this term from neuroscience called transient hypofrontality. I love to drop it at parties and that sort of thing. It sounds really impressive, and everybody sort of goes cross-eyed when they hear it. But anyway, if we break apart these the aspects of transient hypofrontality, you'll get a sense for why meditation is so important. So meditation slows down the brain, and in particular, it slows down the front part of the brain, which is the neocortex. And that's what's represented by hypofrontality. The frontal part of the brain, the neocortex, slows down when our nervous system slows down and we meditate. The transient part means that a quiet brain is able to send out signals to parts of the brain that don't activate when we're in our normal everyday mind or when we're in our anxious mind. The more anxious our mind, the fewer the pathways it has to travel, the neurons. When we're in a relaxed mind, it's like the neurons can go off-road and into creative territories that it wouldn't otherwise be able to go into. So meditation and a quiet mind is really a key driver of coming into our creative selves, being able to problem solve, and really evolve as a human species on this planet. Well, we could say a lot more about that, but we're going to jump into the next level or center of intelligence, which is the heart center. The heart center is our center of emotions. It's our center of a different kind of knowing, and it's very much connected to our minds. And what happens is that when our minds are reactive, our hearts feel it. And conversely, when our emotional selves get reactive, our hearts know it. So these two centers of intelligence amplify each other. So the reactive heart and the anxious mind really get spinning, and they go back and forth like a fast ping pong game. And this is what we call emotional dysregulation, becoming emotionally dysregulated, becoming triggered. And this is happening to us all of the time. And what we have learned from science is that the heart has an energetic that will impact the rest of the body and of the mind. And so when we can slow the heart down, and we do this, again, primarily through breath work, but also just being good to our bodies, being aware of what serves it, sleep, all of that stuff. When our hearts are able to be calm, there's this dynamic called entrainment. So the calm heart sends out an energy that relaxes the brain and the body. And it also sends out an energy in the world around us. And the Heart Math Institute has done a lot of study around this. So when we are in a calm state, it projects out about 6 feet. And they've done interesting studies with mothers and infants. They found that infant hearts will entrain, will respond to the mother's heartbeat when they're at the mother's chest. And they found that the distance of entrainment is the same distance as the umbilical cord. So that's a fascinating part of nature, that a mother's calm heart entrains to the baby. And similarly, a baby's calm heart can help a mother relax. And I'm sure any of you that are mothers and even fathers, when we've held an infant to our chest, it's a remarkably calming experience. So what's interesting is that the heart actually sends more information to the brain than it receives from the brain. So this heart-brain connection is a really powerful one, and calming is the key. Now, when we're able to calm the heart, or when we're not able to calm the heart, we deal with emotional dynamics like sadness and shame. These are two of the primary emotions that come out of the heart center. And they lead, sort of our emotional selves are often very much about approval of others, receiving affection, esteem. The heart is a relationship organ. And so it's very much at stake when it feels out of sorts relationally. And that can often be what triggers the uncalm heart and a lot of the anxiety. But when the heart can be calmed down, it comes into its higher functioning. And this is where it comes into heartfelt desire and authenticity. We think about authenticity as really sort of a deep heart knowing about being true to self and about true to who we are. And when we're able to activate this higher level of intelligence, we come into a kind of resonance that, again, communicates out to the people around us. Our relationships have a calmness more likely if we're in our calm heart space. And we also activate an emotional intelligence. It's almost like a radar that is able to read people and read spaces when our hearts are calm. So it's a very important intelligence right now in this world. So coming into the higher heart center is crucial for us to really move along this sacred journey, because the heart in so many ways is the sacred organ that experiences love and connection and really receives some of the guidance from the divine. So we've talked about the head center, we've talked about the heart center, and of course we're going to talk about the body center, which contains, in some ways, I'm using it in two ways here. It contains head and heart, but there's also a distinct body center that we will often call the gut center. Now, the gut center is centered often right around the belly button. Some will say a couple of inches below the belly button. That is our center of gravity, but it's also a remarkable center of intelligence and activity in our human bodies. And what happens when our head and heart are anxious is we just lose connection with the body. And again, that's why coming into the body is so crucial as we are journeying along this sacred journey. Now, just a couple of facts about the gut center or the body center. We often talk about the gut center as the microbiome. And there are 10 times the number of microbial cells in the gut than in the rest of the body. So there is a cellular intelligence that lives in the gut center that is remarkable. And there's an increasing amount of scientific study about this. And there's also an increasing amount of science around the importance of healthy gut. And so eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables really serves our microbiome. And there's just more and more attention to how that is crucial for our life force, our health, our energy. And what we know is that this microbiome is a primary supporter of the immune system. And when it's healthy, there is a gut level of knowing. There is an intelligence that we activate that we'll often call intuition, or I know it in my gut. But this whole center is something that is evolving in our awareness as a human species. And science is really coming into some fascinating awareness of that. Now, when our body center is not functioning optimally, or it's being triggered by our head or heart, we often experience anger or intensity. Anger and intensity live in the body in some ways. When you have those moments of rage, hopefully you don't have a lot of them, but they often seem to come from the bottom up, and they have a lot of strength to them. And the body, the body dynamics are about boundaries, control, and power. And because the body is an energy center, when we're struggling on a body level, we become more sensitive to boundaries. We want to control our environments. We sometimes inappropriately express power to those around us. But when our bodies get in its calm state and we're activating a higher intelligence, we come into a heightened sense of energy. We have a sense about the right actions to take, and we feel an embodied serenity. And so the higher body center functioning is really crucial for living well in the world. And we talk about sort of knowledge that comes through the body center. And a key part of this is just reconnecting our attention to the sensations of our body. And that's a really crucial part of this journey into the body. So that's just a very brief sort of exploration into the head, the heart, the body center. And each of those, again, is a channel for the divine. And The image that I like to use for this body center is the image of the Rosetta Stone. Now, you've probably heard of that, and I had to do a little research because I knew that it was fascinating, but I couldn't remember some of the details. So the reality of the Rosetta Stone is that it was a discovery made in 1799, and it has 3 distinct languages that are all writing about the same thing. Now, what was interesting about this, when they discovered this, 2 of the languages were considered to be unknown. They were undecipherable. However, the Greek language that is a part of this Rosetta Stone served as a kind of decoding device where they were able to now understand and little by little decode the other 2 languages. So the Rosetta Stone ended up unlocking a huge amount of information, as we were now able to, or not we, but these people were able to really discover 2 whole new languages. And I think of the body as having that capacity to unlock the higher language of the heart and the higher language of the mind. And it really is that place that moves us out of various kinds of stuckness and into a liberation, into potential, into higher knowing. And it really is about coming into a higher frequency. And again, because the body is an energetic reality, when we bring together the head, the heart, and the body, we are bringing together a whole nother level of awareness. So any of you that have done any study on trauma know that the body really becomes the key to healing on a trauma level. And what's also very important and interesting is that the body becomes a crucial way of opening up a channel to a higher kind of knowing. And when we're in a healthy, vibrant body, we literally are sending out a different kind of frequency, and we are receiving a different kind of frequency from the world around us and from the spiritual source. George Gurdjieff, who brought the Enneagram from east to west, talked about the 4th way as that reality that activates when our 3 centers, head, heart, body, are in alignment, when they're in coherency. So the practice for this second level is called the 3 centers practice, and I'm going to make that available to you in the course material here. But just to give you a very sort of a quick overview of what it is, it's just about moving into a meditative state and then seeing if you can identify sensations, emotions, and thoughts that have been a part of your day or that are arising in the moment. And the key to this is to be able both to differentiate these centers, to be able to feel into sensation of the body, to be able to identify emotions as different from thoughts, and to be able to slow down the thinking. And then the final move is trying to move into a state of 3-centered presence, where all 3 of these are flowing together in a way. And I like to think of them as having 3 distinct paint colors that you swirl together, and you sort of drop into a state where they are in balance together. And what happens in our normal consciousness is that one of these centers becomes central to the exclusion of the others. This 3-centered presence practice is about trying to bring them all 3 online and in equal balance. It's a subtle, tricky thing, but we do it. I like to think of it like in moments of nature, we'll often activate all of 3 of these centers in those sort of moments of awe when we're attending to beauty. So the homecoming in this second sacred journey is this 3-centered balance and awareness. And again, it's so important as a source of sacred journey, because what happens is it opens up this portal, this channel to a higher kind of knowing, to the divine. So as we do this work, as we are journeying and working with our body center, we really want to shift to having our intelligence, our sort of normal way of being in the world as being stuck in our head that is just receiving all the noise from the outside, and instead coming into this three-centered balance where we are really orienting from the inside out, and doing so in a way that utilizes the three sacred intelligences of head, heart, and body. And so the body is the gateway, and all sacred journeys are built upon and accessed through our calm and resonant body. This is why we over and over emphasize meditation or prayer or nature walks or anything that just brings us into a calm body. And from that place, we are able to deal with the overwhelm, the crazy, the change that's always swirling around us. So spend some time loving your body, calming it, and as you do so, you really become a calming energy in the world around you. There is the second journey, and next time I will be inviting you into the third sacred journey, which is up through the ego and its many layers. And once we come into the calm body, we often now have another thing to contend with, and this is the complex thing of our ego that has developed over our lives. And it's a really important journey, but I think you'll also find that it's a really exciting one as we come to understand its layers. And you'll see that when we do this deep egoic work, what we come to ultimately is loving ourselves and a new level of self-worth. So until then, I wish you all the best. Enjoy your body, meditate, and we'll see you in the third of the sacred journeys.